South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham. Senator, thank you so much for being here. Senator,
thank you.
President Trump reacted to this prisoner exchange at his rally last night. Listen to this.
I'd like to congratulate Vladimir Putin for having made yet another great deal. Did you see the deal we made? Now, look, we want to get people in. You know, we got 59 hostages. I never paid anything. They released some of the greatest killers anywhere in the world, some of the most evil killers they got.
Senator, do you believe that this deal increased Putin's leverage over the West?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got a cycle here. You have trumped-up charges against Americans. You accuse them of things they didn't do. You put them in jail, and you only release them when we have to release Russian spies and killers. Yeah, this cycle needs to stop. Absolutely. And this, you know, all I can say is I don't think Russia would have invaded Ukraine on Trump's watch, and I don't think we'd have the Mideast on fire if Trump were still president. Iran is running wild. So the source of all these problems is weakness. People believe America's weak, and they're taking advantage of us.
Senator, in October of 2020, though, Trump facilitated the release of 250 Houthi rebels from Oman in exchange for 2 Americans and the remains of a third that were held in Yemen by Iranian-backed militants. So how is that any different than what President Biden did this week?
Well, what we've done is we've released killers and thugs all over the world in Western custody, and we've, you know, Russia charges Americans with crimes they didn't commit, foreign nationals a crime they didn't commit. They asked for their people to be released who are spies and thugs and killers. It's completely different. So what I would say about the Houthis, when President Trump was president, not one missile was fired at American ships in the Red Sea. When Trump was president, Israel was not attacked, killing more Jews than any time since the Holocaust. When President Trump was president, Russia did not invade Ukraine. When President Trump was president, you didn't have enough fentanyl coming across the border to kill everybody in the entire world. There's a lot of differences between the Trump presidency, Biden, and Harris.
Well, Senator, more broadly, how does this prisoner swap affect the war in Ukraine? Because there's been somewhat of a stir in Kyiv that the complex negotiations between Russia and the West show that they can get things done, and that might have some consequences for their country, which is surviving on borrowed money or donated money and also weapons. So what does this mean for Ukraine?
I think the best thing for Ukraine is for them to continue to resist the Russian invasion. The weapons we're sending them, they're using to good effect. At the end of the day, I think the Iranians see this as yet another sign of weakness. The more thugs like Putin get rewarded for doing bad things, the more bad things you will get. So I'm worried that the Iranians and the Chinese are watching, making all of our enemies more provocative, not less.
The White House touted the importance of diplomacy and alliances in making this prisoner exchange happen. Listen to this.
I would say that if you had not had Joe Biden sitting in the Oval Office, I don't think this would have happened.
President Trump has been skeptical about the value of NATO. There are concerns, though, Senator, that there are concerns that President Trump might even withdraw the U.S. from NATO. Is this a time for President Trump to make clear what his NATO policy is?
Well, he had 4 years as president, and NATO contributed more to the common defense than any time since the founding of NATO. Here's what NATO should understand about a second Trump term. You better pay your fair share. It's not unfair to have NATO contribute more. 2% is not unreasonable. He's going to insist they do more. But this all started when we withdrew from Afghanistan. That set in motion a reign of terror on this planet. And Kamala Harris said publicly on camera she was the last person in the room with President Biden before he decided to withdraw all forces from Afghanistan. If that is true, and she encouraged him to withdraw, she should never be in another room again making an important decision, because she doesn't know what she's doing.
Senator, I want to get to one other topic before we run out of time. President Trump has raised some incendiary questions about the vice president's racial identity. He reposted an image of her birth certificate on Truth Social this week. after a lot of criticism for this comment. Listen here.
She was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black, and now she wants to be known as black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she black?
Doesn't this kind of language alienate millions of black voters, including from your state?
Yeah, 30% of my state is African American. Nikki Haley is of Indian heritage, and one of her children married an African American Clemson football player. So here's what I would say to President Trump. The problem I have with Kamala Harris is not her heritage, it's her judgment. She has been wrong about everything. When she tried to explain what she would do about inflation and an upcoming recession, it made no sense. It's gibberish. She's been in the witness protection program. Nobody will ask her a hard question. Every day we're talking about her heritage and not her terrible, dangerous liberal record throughout her entire political life. Is a good day for her and a bad day for us. So I would encourage President Trump to prosecute the case against Kamala Harris's bad judgment.
It doesn't seem that he's received that message yet. I mean, he had an introductory speaker last night sort of double down on this conversation. Would you advise that he just stop talking about that?
I think, Mr. President, this is your election to lose. It's important you win to reset a broken border and get the world in good order. The American people are looking to have their problems solved. I think your presidency was an incredible presidency for national security and prosperity, as to Georgia. Georgia is there for the taking. I think Governor Kemp was a great governor, lowering taxes, less regulation. I think if you voted for Kemp and you want to vote for Harris, that makes no sense. I'm hoping that President Trump and Governor Kemp can repair the damage to win Georgia, a state, if we win, we're going to go, that we're well on our way to winning 270 electoral votes. If we lose Georgia, it could be a very long night. So let's win this election. How about that? Let's win an election we can't afford to lose.
Thank you, Senator Lindsey Graham. Very much appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you.